We're just going to do some of these equations together. So we'll start with some of the simpler ones or the smaller ones and then do some of the larger ones together. So let's look at number 2 first. Negative 9x plus 1 equals negative 80. So just always remember you want the variable to be on one side. So if that x term is over there, we're just going to try to keep it over there and move everything else. So we're going to subtract the 1. And if it helps, you guys can like draw that line down the middle to sort of differentiate the two sides. But subtract the 1. And then you're going to be left with negative 9x equals negative 80 minus 1 is negative 81. And then you guys will divide both sides by negative 9. Because it's negative 9 times x. So to undo the multiplication, you want to divide. So then that cancels out and leaves you with just the x term. Negative 81 divided by negative 9 is a positive 9. So let's do the next one. So 3 equals negative x minus 5. So same thing, the variable's over here, so we're just going to keep it over there, and we're going to move the 5 away. So if it's a minus 5, we're going to add 5 to both sides. Again, if it helps to like draw that line, that's fine. Cancels out over here. 3 plus 5 will give you guys 8 equals negative x. So when you guys have a negative x, we haven't solved for x yet. We've solved for a negative x. We're trying to solve for just x. So really, this is a negative 1x. So to get rid of that negative 1, if it's like a negative times, they're right next to each other, you can just divide both sides by negative 1. 8 divided by negative 1 will be negative 8. So x equals negative 8. Let's look at number 7. M minus 30 equals 6 minus 2m. So we've got a variable on both sides. So it doesn't really matter which side you move it to. I'm just going to move it over to the left side. So I'm going to move this 2m. So since it's minus, we're going to add it to both sides. It will cancel over here, leaving you with just 6. And 1 plus 2 will give you 3m minus 30. So at least now the variable's on one side, and you can go about moving the 30, so it's minus 30. So to undo that, we will add it. We get 3m equals 36. It's going to be 3 times m. So to undo the 3 times m and get just m, we will divide. So 36 divided by 3 will be 12. Let's keep going. Number 9, 2b plus 11 equals 15 minus 6b. So again, we have b's on both sides, which need all the b's to be on one side. So let's add or move that 6b term. So we can't just do it on the right. We need to also do it on the left with the like terms there. So it cancels out over here. We get 8b plus 11 equals now just 15 on that right side. Still trying to get the b by itself, the variable by itself, so we need to move that 11 over. It's plus 11. So we are going to undo that by subtracting. Leaves you with just 8b on that left side. 15 minus 11 gives you 4. And we have 8 times b, 8b. So to get the b by itself, get rid of that 8, we need to divide. So 4/8, you can leave it as a fraction. It would be reduced to 1/2. Or 0.5, you can do a decimal if it doesn't specifically say. But sometimes it's not going to equal a whole number. It just doesn't always come out perfectly every single time. So don't be alarmed if you get something like a half or a third, or even if it's a decimal. That's not a nice fraction. It just doesn't always work out that it's a whole number, your solution. It doesn't always mean you did something wrong. So let's go look at 10. 3n minus 5 equals negative 8 times 6 plus 5n. So we're going to try to simplify first. This is the first one we've had where we could actually simplify stuff on one side of the equation before starting with undoing things. So let's simplify this right-hand side. So let's distribute that negative 8 inside there and make this negative 48 minus 40n on that right-hand side, and we're still going to have 3n minus 5 on the left. And then you can go ahead and start undoing things. So same thing, get all those n's on the one side. So let's move everything to the left here. So let's move this 40n off of the right by subtracting. So plus 40n. So we get 43n minus 5 equals negative 48. Then we'll want to move that 5 over. So since it's minus, we'll plus 5, plus 5. So we end up with 43n equals negative 43. So if we divide both sides by 43, n will equal negative 1. Okay, we're going to do a couple more here. Number 11. So this one's pretty big. We're going to simplify everything on that left-hand side. So this whole side over here, we're going to simplify as much as we can first, and then try to solve for the variable. So this negative goes in there to both of those things. It's really like a negative 1. So this becomes negative 1 minus 7x plus 42 plus 6x. Still equal to 36 over there. So we can combine the like terms on that left-hand side. So negative 1 plus 42 is going to be 41. Negative 7x plus 6x is going to be negative, so minus 1x equals 36. And now it seems a lot simpler. The x is already over there on that left-hand side, so let's move the 41. So it's currently a positive 41. So to move that positive 41 over, we need to subtract it. That's gone. What's important here, guys, is that what you're left with on that left-hand side is not just 1x. That negative has not gone anywhere. Until you've done something to actually remove it, it hasn't disappeared. So you still need to keep the negative with it when you subtract that 41. On the right-hand side, 36 minus 41 is going to be negative 5. So we have negative 1x equals negative 5. And again, we haven't solved for x yet. We've solved for negative x. So we need to divide both sides by negative 1. X will equal 5. Let's go ahead and look at number 12. So remember when you guys see single variables like a p or an m or a y, it's really just one. So if it helps to put a 1 in the front of them, that's fine. So let's go ahead and move the p's to one side since they're currently on both sides. So if it's a plus 1p over there on the right, let's subtract him over. So this is a rare instance where both of our p's actually disappear. Like we have no p's left, no p's on the right, no p's on the left, and we're left with negative 4 equals negative 9. So what happens when you variable cancels out and you're left with a false statement like negative 4 does not equal negative 9, then this specific equation actually has no solution. You have no variable left to solve for, and the statement you ended up with was false. If it would have ended up being a true statement, so like negative 4 equals negative 4, it would have been infinite solution. But no variable left, false statement, this specific equation has no solution. So let's do 15, actually let's do 14 and 16. So number 14, just decimals, but it's the same idea. Like you want the variable to be on a single side. So since we have the 4n over here already, or the negative 4.2n, and there's no n over here, we're just going to move the negative 6.5. So since it's a minus 6.5, we're going to just add it to both sides of your equation. So we still have that negative 4.2n, but then negative 14.06 plus 6.5 is going to give you negative 7.56. And then all you guys are going to do is divide by negative 4.2. It's currently negative 4.2 times. And so we will just divide both sides by negative 4.2. So we get 1.8. So even though they're decimals, it's still the same process. Get that variable by itself and do your inverse operations to then solve your equation. All right, let's do number 16 yet. So this one looks worse than it is, but we're just going to simplify both sides as much as we can. So let's start by distributing those numbers on the outside of those parentheses. So 4 times negative 3x plus 1, negative 12x plus 4, is going to equal negative 10x, negative 10 times negative 4 plus 40 minus 14x. So the negative 10 only goes to what's in parentheses. It's not going to get distributed to that 14x at the end. So the left-hand side is just going to stay negative 12x plus 4 for right now. And we're just going to combine our x's over here on the right. So negative 10 plus negative 14 is going to be negative 24x plus 40. And now we'll just go from here. So let's move our x's, that negative 24x, over to the other side with the other x. So since it's a negative, we will add it to move it over. I'll also do the same on the right there. So 40 will remain over here, and we'll have positive 12x plus 4 on the left. Plus 4, to move him over, we will subtract him. We get 12x equals 36. So the last step here, 12x equals 36, 12 times x, so to undo him, we will divide both sides by 12. X will equal 3. So, whenever you're solving for an equation, first thing is, if you need to, simplify both sides of your equation. So, like, simplify the left as much you can to get it as small as you can. Simplify the right, make it as small as and condensed equation as you can. Then, after that, start moving things so that you have the variable on just one side. And then go ahead and solve from there.